Hello everyone, welcome to NannuoLive Workshop, the real-time streaming where we learn and drink tea together. If you are watching this streaming right now live, then you are most probably already one of our subscribers. Thank you for that. But no worries if you have missed the live streaming and you are actually watching now this video offline, you can still do the workshop and I will tell you soon actually how. Basically, this workshop will be divided in different phases. So these phases will be listed also in the description below the video, and for each of these phases you will find the start and the end time. In between we will have some live discussion with those that are following this video live. So for you, if you want to watch this later and you want to skip all this live chat that we have in between, you can simply go down, look at the description, and then you will jump from one topic to the next without having to hear everything in between. But before stopping the video and going down reading the description, don't forget to subscribe our channel, because if you subscribe the channel then you won't miss the next live streaming. All right, so now to the people that are right now there live, can you hear me well? Can you see me well? How it is the stream quality? I have the screen here in front of me of the computer so I can check your comments. Oh, I see that there is already a lot going on. Hello, Matthias. Hello, Gabriele. Okay, it seems that at least someone is viewing me. Let me know in the description if the quality is okay and everything is fine, and then we will get started. As you have already seen, there is already Matthias in the chat. I will tell you a little bit more about that very soon. But first of all, how is everyone doing actually? How are you feeling today? Let us know in the chat wherever you are in the world. We are living now a little bit of a strange, maybe surreal situation, lockdown at home with this COVID-19 all around. How are you experiencing all of that? For some of us, this is not affecting us as much. For others, maybe you are more affected. As for me, I have to say it's not affecting me really much. I have to work from home, but that's not a big issue for me. The major problem is actually that I cannot go out, I cannot exercise, so I feel it a little bit in my leg that I sit all the day and I miss a little bit my bike. And as you see, my beard is growing, and yeah, I am actually staying by Caroline, and I forgot my shaver at home, so basically I decided I will shave my beard when all this mess is over. Let's see if I will stick to my word. Anyway, let's see what are you writing here. Feeling terrible because of the quarantine, but staying optimistic. Yeah, you see, I mean, it's very good. Okay, so you see, I mean, Matthias is helping me a little bit with the chat, with the interaction, because it's a little bit difficult to do everything at once alone, doing the workshop, doing the live streaming, and so on. So we have shared a little bit our roles so that it is a little bit quiet for everyone here. All right, so basically, how does it work? Today will be only me on the screen. Unfortunately, Matthias will join me in the future. We are now looking actually at a way to stream from two continents. I am in the US, Matthias is in Switzerland, at the same time with both of us on the screen at the same time. We have still to really double check that all the technical aspects work, but as soon as we have checked everything, then we will do a workshop and live streaming in general with both of us. So as for today, Matthias is there, is just with you in the chat, and he will helping me managing a little bit your question and answers. What I also suggest is that actually we will have dedicated section in the workshop for question and answer. So try to reserve your question for that particular moment where we can discuss those. And during the workshop, everyone focuses on his exercises. And that doesn't mean that you cannot make your question anytime. You can. It means that most likely I won't be reading those. It will be Matthias. And then if there are questions that I've missed, he will point that out to me. I have a dedicated chat with me just here in front of the screen, and I will answer to those. And if Matthias knows the answer, please, Matthias, go ahead and answer the question for me. All right. Now, let's start speaking about this workshop. First of all, it is the first time, right? It's the first time that we try to do a live streaming workshop, and let's see how that goes. We've done a lot of workshops. We do a lot of workshops. We've done those in Berlin, everywhere in Europe, even in the US. In Switzerland, Matthias does workshops. So workshop is something we do a lot. but in this fashion with you on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the camera, is the first time. So this workshop is actually for both beginners, Gonfu tea beginners, and for experts. But the two groups will look at the workshop in a different way. So for those of you that are just now approaching this world of Gonfu tea, of Gonfu cha, will be an opportunity to practice together with us, that we have done it for a bit longer, the art of brewing tea. Brewing tea according to the Gonfu cha method. For those of you that maybe like me and like Matthias are a little bit more into Gonfu cha and you have been doing all these for many years, you have to look at the workshop with a different perspective. Basically, you have to, if I can say, you have to challenge your habits, always in the same fashion. It is like if I take a specific oolong, I will tend to brew it always in the same way because I know that particular way is what fits me best. The same for green tea, I will do it in a different way, but also my way if you want. And other people, other experts, do it in a different way. So today what we want is to break a little bit those habits, to do things a little bit different, and more than that, actually not so much doing things different, but looking at the Gonfu cha steeping with a different eye. And before we start, let's see everything you need for this workshop. Some of you have subscribed, have registered via email, and so we have already sent out to you the list of everything you need. But no worries, if you haven't read that email, if you haven't received that, I will now show you everything we need. And you will have time to run in the kitchen, to run in your cupboard, collect everything, set up your Chaxi, and get started with me. So, I have everything here behind the camera and I will now pull the different stuff. We have for sure a gaiwan, here it is. Mine is 125, 120 milliliters under the lid, and you want to choose a gaiwan that is between 100 and 150 milliliters under the lid. The smaller the better if you are alone, a bit larger if you are in company. Then I have a pitcher here. I've chosen a glass pitcher and I suggest you to do so. You can also take for this workshop ceramic or a porcelain pitcher, that's fine. Just please avoid materials that are not glazed. We want a neutral pitcher. Then I have a cup. Here is my cup. I will tell you more soon about this cup here. And I have a wastewater container. You can use any bowl, is fine. Yeah, there is no need to have something fancy, but you need a wastewater container. And then I have a strainer, a filter here. This is a Hulu filter made of calabash, natural. I like this kind of natural thing, but if you have one out of metal or porcelain, that will work as well. Okay, then what I have? Well, I have these, I didn't mention it in the email, a tea pet. This is actually an elephant from Myanmar. That I will use it more than a tea pet, I will use it for my gaiwan lid. Then I have a scale, a tea scale. If you don't have a tea scale at home, but you have a kitchen scale, that will work as well. If you don't have a scale, we will get along with that as well, no worries. And then I have water. I have spring water here. And if possible, use spring water. If you don't have spring water and you have to use water from the tub, that's okay. Better if it is filtered, or if you know that actually where you live the water has a good taste, that's fine as well. Here in DC the water is no good, so I've bought some mountain spring water for this workshop. Okay, so this is basically all you need. You also need actually some a notebook or some paper to take some notes if you want. It's not really necessary. And of course a pen. And the tea. We will get very soon close to which tea we want to use. But first of all, I want to speak to you about the cup actually. So I have chosen this cup because it's large enough. We want to do exercise with a cup that is between 50 and 100 milliliters to the rim. And when I choose it yesterday evening, I had a problem with it because I like actually how this matches with my uh, under guy one here, this piece of clothes, but the inside was a little bit too blue. But yesterday it was under fake light because it was already night. Today under daylight is not disturbing me too much, so I will go for this. Otherwise I would have used this one here. That is a cup from Caroline as well that I really like a lot. I try to bring it close to the camera. I don't know if you can see that. It is a cup that is made with, I have to put it probably in front of my face to avoid the camera focusing my face. This cup is glazed, but is naturally glazed. It's glazed just because it was fired in a wood kiln, differently than the standard gas kiln that I use in Jindagen. I like it a lot. It's also a very good match for the guy one, but is maybe a little bit too small for this, would be right okay. So I think today I will stick with the large one. I mean, just for sharing this trouble. Sometimes I have trouble selecting my bowl. Um, okay, so guys, concerning the tea, um, I will steep this tea. It is in a very old package of us that Michele at that time wrote by hand. It is Qingxin oolong, a Taiwan oolong, that in the meantime is actually relatively old. It's already 8 years old. It doesn't taste aged at all because it was always stored sealed. And I will tell you soon more why actually I selected this tea. If you have this tea at home, go for it. If you don't have it and you want to use something different, that's fine. Very good for this workshop is a aromatic oolong, another aromatic oolong, or you can go for a flavorful black tea or even a shampooer would work. What I really suggest is to avoid green tea if possible, unless you have only green tea at home, because it's less suitable for suited for this workshop. Okay, so let me see where we are. So we say we have everything you need. I think I mentioned everything. Of course, you need a kettle. I mentioned that you need a kettle. Put the water in. That's also very important. And now we start with a small session about question and answer. So if you have your answer and you can speak English, go ahead and feel free to write your question in English. But if you prefer German or Italian instead, that's fine as well. Mattia speaks also German, I speak also German and Italian, and we can answer those questions in your language. Just English is better because everyone would understand, but no problem. We can answer and even translate your question and our answers. So that's fine. So now is the time for question and answer, and I will also look at the screen. In the meantime, turn on your kettle. You want to bring it to a boil, 100 degrees centigrade, boiling water. All right, so let me have a look. Jesus, there is so much going on. I hope that Matthias is able to follow all this chat because it's really a lot, and I won't be able to read all your messages. I will do that after the meeting for sure. Dongding Qingxin, that's very good. That's a good choice. So. Yeah, think about the tea. We will have a session later where you will tell us exactly what you have selected. In the meantime, I will tell you maybe more about why I chosen this tea actually. Trying out my favorite Dongding for these, very good. So actually, you're mentioning Dongding, which is a good choice, very much matching what I have here, because this Qingxin is actually a Dongding style Qingxin. So Qingxin is the most famous cultivar and most widespread cultivar in Taiwan. Amazingly, 2/3, more than 60% of the tea bushes of Taiwan are actually Qingxin. So let me see, Matthias. Main question so far, what is the recommended water to tea grams ratio? Very good, because apparently I forgot to say that. We will get actually to that, but so for the first steeping that we will do, you want 4 gram 400 milliliters, okay? So what you can do, you can take your scale. I do it right now, so you can see it if you haven't done it before. Put it here on the side. And you put, in this case, just your guy one on the scale, 0 gram, and I just fill it up to just below the lid, which will be more or less here. I check it, I put the lid on, I make sure that water does not come out, so it is fine, and I have 118 milliliters, so 120. 120 milliliters, so let's say 125 to make things a bit easier. We said 4 grams for 100 milliliters. It means that for 125, I will have to use 5 grams. And you can do this kind of math also yourself before we get started. There is a little bit of a peculiarity about that. We always mention how much water you have to use for how much tea, and we usually measure the water in the guy when before putting the leaves inside. Well, the leaves take a lot of room. I will probably lose here when I put the leaves. I will lose this experiment exactly like with me, and you don't have a 120 milliliters guy when you have a smaller one, then it might anyway not be exactly the same, because your leaves will feel more than guy one than mine, because of the quantity of the leaves you will use. But never mind. I mean, those are really details. It's fine if you just measure the water the way I did, and you select 4 grams for 100 milliliters. Other question, what are the recommendations on the water to be used? Yeah, as mentioned before, spring water is the best. Yeah, I won't go now into much detail. You just want a water that is not too much rich of mineral, but also not too less of mineral. I had two options here this morning to spring water. I tasted both. The one that was smoother in my mind, in my mouth, is the one that I've selected. You want to avoid tap water when it has a taste. Water actually has to be tasteless. So when it has, like here in DC, the water out of the tap is actually, it tastes like a little bit like chlorine, like maybe swimming pool water. Hi there, greetings from Algoy. Ah, nice. With Qingxin dancing in my cup. That's very good. From Hun Yanjuan 78. Who is Hun Yanjuan 78? Is it Benjamin? 78 his year of birth, but oh, Giselle is there, very good. All right, so why I've chosen Qingxin? I've chosen this tea because for this experiment we want on one side a complex tea, so it has a tea that challenge our tasting buds if you want, and you also want a tea that is aromatic, because it's easier to do this exercise just because of that. I have to say Qingxin is relatively forgiving, so for that aspect wouldn't be that perfect for the tea for this session, because we want a tea that is challenging, that is not so easy to prepare. But on the other side, Qingxin, this we say is a Donding style Qingxin, but it's not an authentic Donding, which means it is a good tea actually, but it's not at the level of a Donding. So it's a little bit more difficult if you want to really bring it where it should, because the leaves itself cannot really reach that level that an authentic Donding can reach. We have also authentic Donding in our shop, but I just intentionally not picked that one. Also because I know the tea fairly well, I drink it fairly often, and I wanted the tea that I don't know that good. Okay. Also, they ask if a smaller guy one, baby guy one works. So a baby guy one would work if you are alone. Okay, I added one with me just on this table. Would work if you are alone, and in that case, I would skip the picture and I will pour directly into the cup. Okay, so I think we are right. Hello, Gabriele. Okay, Gabriele Zimmerman is there. Günther. Let me see. Chiara. We don't have, what is writing Chiara? We don't have spring water, so we usually use bottled water. Yeah, I mean, I also use bottled water, of course, but it's a bottled water, which is a spring water. Bottled water. And it is a mountain spring water. So I just bought it at Trader Joe. Okay, so no further question, which means that, guys, we can get started now. And I forgot to restart my kettle, actually, when I weighted the capacity, I measured the capacity of the gallon, so I have to wait a little bit. Bring it back to really 100 degrees C, it's important, we want boiling, and then we get started. You know that I tend to speak a lot. I'm Italian, that's in our genes. I will try to slow a little bit down for this workshop, especially when I will taste the tea, because if I speak to you, I cannot hear to my tea. And I really want to do this workshop as well with you. And also, you know, usually when I drink tea for you, with you on YouTube, I concentrate to understand how the tea is and how to describe it. Today, that won't be my focus. Today, I want to taste the tea for me. If after that I will find words for you, of course I will describe it. And if those words won't be perfect, but as long as my feeling is right, then I've reached the target. It's also the purpose of the workshop is not for you to get to know Xing, is actually to understand your tea. Okay, let me see what's going on here. Yeah, let's wait a little bit. Just I have to wait 1 minute that the water warm up, and in the meantime, actually, I wait my tea. We said I will have to use 5 grams. Don't put the leaves already in the guy one. If you put them already, take them out because we want to warm up the guy one. Okay. Alishan, also very good choice. That's perfect. Yesterday got some jumping Shuishan. Jumping Shuishan is also good. Yeah, I mean, guys, you seems you have done good choices, and as said, we will have later a session where every one of you, if you want, will write actually what some information that I will give you, so that we can have really a complete overview of what you guys are drinking, and that will help me in guiding you. You know, that's also another difficulties when you are a little bit far away. That's I have to imagine how do you do things and giving you direction just with my imagination. Someone is asking, does the guy one warm up when you do the wash? It does if you do a wash, but you don't know yet what we are going to do today. So, and also, you know, there is a second aspect. The guy one, it is really that you warm up your cup when you do the wash, but it depends very much on which teaware you have. Look at this guy one. This guy one is very bulky. It's really thick. It's really heavy. So when I put 100 degrees water in this guy one, that water will cool pretty much. If you use your tiny baby guy one that is very thin, a very low thermal capacity actually, that when you put 100 degrees water, your water will be actually not changing the temperature very much because it can warm up the guy one in a second. Then when you remove that water, your guy one that is very thin, the big guy one, will cool down relatively quickly, while this guy one will remain fairly hot for a long time. So when then I do the brewing, you will have a different starting position than me. So it is true that with the first wash, you of course warm up everything, but depending on your tea set, you might have a slightly different result. Water ready here, Matthias? I have another 10 degrees and then I'm ready as well. Sorry guys, it's live streaming, so I just forgot to restart the kettle. In a normal video, I would just cut the video and then restart over or continue later. This time I cannot. There is something written in Russian, Matthias. Gary Ship. At Gary Ship. Ah, is someone addressing, Matthias is addressing Gary Ship. Yes. So Gary Ship, where are you from actually? It's interesting to see someone with a name written in with Cyrillic. I mean, in Russian have a very strong, very strong Gonfu-cha and tea tradition. You wonder why Russian is actually bordering with China, so it's not too far away despite being so large. We have Giovanni drinking a charcoal roaster Donting, also good. Seems everyone has chosen here a Taiwan Oolong, very good. Are you joining from Russia? Yes, very good. I can try to. So Gary Ship, откуда в России? Я говорю немного по-русски, но я не могу I don't remember how to say answer actually in Russian. It was a long time ago. No, очень конечно из России. 100 degrees. Okay, so now we warm up our gaiwan. We just put the water in it. We leave the water a little bit because we want that the gaiwan takes the water, the heat of the water. I'm from Russia. Yes, we do have a big tea community, a lot of tea clubs. People mostly drink shu. Where are you from in Russia? I live in, it's really a cool thing actually that they have in Russia. They have what they call anti-cafe, where instead you go in a cafe and instead of paying for what you order, you just paid once and then you can take as much as you want. And it feels like being a little bit in a living room. It's very nice. And they have, in some of them, they have really good tea. So you can really serve yourself, help yourself, take some oolong or pu'er steeping, and it's everything included. Was some time ago when I visited some of them, and the first one was in Moscow. Okay, so I'm warming up all my teaware. Then I still forgot actually to measure my 5 gram, and then we get started. All right, Matthias, привет из Bielina. No, what is written there? 5 grams. So now, guys, we put the 5 grams or whichever quantity you have in the gaiwan. We have our boiling water. We fill the gaiwan, and we leave it steeping. If you have a timer, you want to watch at the time now. I do it as well. It's 9:28 here, and I will let this steep for quite some time, like pretty long. I mean, at least 5 minutes. So if you're watching offline, we will now steep this tea 5 minutes long. So go down in the description and check when it is the next phase. And why we want to do that, I will tell you later on. So we just leave this gaiwan at least for 5 minutes. By me, it will be at 9:33. And then we see what we do with that. All right. Hi from Germany, drinking Tieguanin Chunxian. Sunny outside. Chunxian. Chunxian, like spring fragrance. All right. So while this tea is steeping, let's discuss some topics actually. So when you how to say, we said before that when you have a very high quality tea, it's a little bit difficult to take out all the potential from the tea, right? It's easy to do mistake, and if you do a mistake, you ruin the tea completely. It's not as easy as for wine, where you have simply to look at the water, but you really have to how to say, you really have to pay attention when you steep, because you can ruin the tea completely. While if you drink whiskey or you drink a coffee, there is not so much you can do wrong in the preparation. Here it says, Matthias, people are asking about the temperature. Can you confirm that you use 100 degrees water? Yeah, that's correct. 100 degrees water, no matter which tea do you use 100 degrees water. Just if you have really to choose green tea, you can go for a little bit lower temperature, but no matter which tea, today we will use 100 degrees water. You know, it's kind of an experiment, right? We're doing a workshop. So for you, until now, it's not 100% clear what we're going to do. So you have a little bit to have some trust in me, and we will see what will happen very soon. So now we have put the quantity, quite a large quantity for such a long steeping. I'm saying I have 5 grams of leaves inside with a 120 milliliter gaiwan. I put 100 degrees water, I didn't wash the leaves, and I just steep it. And let's see what comes out. So I was saying that when you have a high quality tea, it's very hard to take out all the potential of it, while it's very easy to ruin the tea. On the other side, if you have an average quality tea, you can still improve it a lot with the steeping, which means that if you actually steep very good a bad tea and very bad a good tea, you might have that the bad tea tastes even better to your palate than the other one. So on top of that, you have to consider that how the tea tastes depends not only of intrinsic quality of the tea, but also only of your personal taste, right? Like it could be that you like tea in a certain way, then other people don't like. So if you could sit around the table with someone, you drink the same tea out of the same guy one, check the time here, and then it tastes in a different way to you and to the others, right? On top of that, the taste of the tea changes with time, yeah? More with some tea, less with other, but as a matter of fact, over the weeks, over the months, over the years, the tea changes. So you cannot stick to the same approach that you have done in the past. I drank this ginseng for the first time in 2014. I cannot now steep it as I was doing in 2014 because the tea has changed. So we want basically to adapt our steeping to our taste, to the type of tea and the conditions. I have it here, let's see, almost 5 minutes, but I will probably do 6 minutes or so, and then I will take that out. Also because I want one more thing to tell you actually, and it is which parameters influence the taste of the tea. I told you before I will use here 100 degrees water, and actually the water temperature is something that, since you have many asked, is something that influences the taste of the tea, right? You want to take this variable out of the play today and don't care about temperature. So that's why I'm steeping at 100 degrees C. And here I have a leaflet. Some of you might recognize the style. Look at these. This is the kind of leaflets that we were always using in the tea house where we were giving a workshop. And I took some notes here. So usually we will distributing those to the participants so that they can follow a little bit what is happening. But it doesn't tell you enough to really understand everything. So here there is the first section is about brewing parameters. I've listed a series of parameters that influence the taste of the tea. Okay, so how long this has been steeping? Almost 6 minutes, and then I will take it out. So I want to tell you just some of them, so to, especially for the beginners, to understand how complex is actually the steeping. So I wrote here the water quality. Some of you have asked spring water, tap water, what are we going to use? The water temperature, as mentioned, 80 degrees, 100 degrees, a big difference. The teapot material, we choose a guy one and not an Asian teapot because an Asian teapot affects the taste of the tea. A glazed guy one does not. Then we have, interesting enough, also how do you pour the water in the guy one? If you pour it quietly or in a rush, that also affects the taste of the tea. Then you have if you pre-warm the teapot or not. Yeah, we have seen that. If you do some breaks and you stop between the steepings, maybe you make a break 15 minutes, half an hour, and then you continue. And for example, if you steep with the lid or not, that makes also a difference. And as you see, I have more or less steeped this for 6.5 minutes. So as I told you before, minimum 5 minutes. That doesn't mean that you cannot steep it for long. You can steep it for long, that's fine for the purpose of our experiment. And I will go to the tea very soon. So for now, it stays there. Then the size of the teapot plays a big role. That's why I gave you some indication between 80 milliliter and 150 milliliter guy one. We don't want to go too large, and actually not even too small. And the shape of the teapot plays also a role in the way the tea is steeping in there. I don't want to go into much detail, and also the steeping time, of course. Now, if any of these parameters doesn't make sense to you and you say, no, that's not true, that's affect the taste, well, let us know and we can explain you in which way a particular parameter that I've listed will affect the taste. But today we will mostly focus on the steeping time, and I will tell you soon why. So now, by this time, more or less everyone should have the steeping done. The very long steeping with a lot of leaves. Look at my guy one here. It is really a lot of leaves in there. And I've steeped it for very long. You can see from the color, well, from the color of the leaves that are fairly green, so it's not really an aged oolong. It's still relatively fresh despite the age, depending how you age the tea. And the color is dark. It's dark for being a Taiwan oolong, even if it is a traditional one. And now what we do, every one of us for himself, we just taste our tea and see how we like it. Gabriele, come on, the tea is cooling down. That was the purpose of the thing. I didn't want to drink the tea when it is too hot because your tasting buds are burned. If you try to drink 100 degrees water, you cannot really drink. You can appreciate better the taste if it cools down a little bit. At least that's my feeling. So, try to understand which feeling you get in your mouth, if you like it or not, what you like, what you don't like. Yeah, let us know in the chat. And I will tell you soon about mine. I want just to drink it a little bit more, and then I will share my thought with you. So, Charlie say astringent but good. So it's extremely strong and bitter. Wow, so little water and came. So little water only came out. The smell is really intense. Still nice, but too much donated by the roasting note. So mine, as said, in Qingxin, traditionally processed, is very forgiving. It is a tiny bit too strong, but that's not the main issue here. It has a note that actually I didn't notice before in Qingxin, that is a little bit barn, I would say, smoky barn, and that shouldn't be there. And I have a very strong dry sensation on the palate, very strong, like very tannic wine. Even now I feel it, like my palate is completely dry and is not pleasant. Is in German I would say pelzig. I still taste the tea behind. It's not that it's not completely ruined. It's not bad, but it's definitely oversteeped. I steeped 5 grams in 120 milliliter for 6.5 minutes. Matthias is right in the majority of you. He says that it's barn, is lightly bitter or astringent, oily thick. Yeah, that's a good point. The texture of the tea and aromatic. At least I see we are drinking similar tea, which is good. And yeah, maybe you see in my face. The most disturbing thing is this drying, astringent sensation on the palate. It's not very astringent actually. It's just a bit, but the drying is the major thing. So for me, is first thing that I don't like, it is too dry. The second thing that I don't like, it is this barn note that has to it. And the third thing is that I believe the aromatic of this tea comes out much better than this. Some are surprised that they are surprised that actually like it, which is good, you know. So you might discover with this that actually when you do this short steeping, typical of Gongfu cha, it might not be really the direction to go. You might discover now that actually sometimes you should try a little bit longer. Oh, Dimitri is also there. Very good. Yeah, it's good that you guys also can exchange with each other because I said, oh, Nikos from Greece is also in. Nikos, nice that you are there. So nice. Nikos joined us last year for the nannuoshan tea tour in China, and it's a great surprise that you're actually joining us for this. I'm very happy for that. Hello, Nikos. Okay, so keep your guy one warm, 100 degrees. And now, before we continue, I want to now tell you what we do next. So first of all, which is the focus of this workshop? I mean, you start understanding which is the focus of this workshop. It's also from its name. But what I wanted to tell you is what I want you to focus together with me when we do this workshop. And the workshop is actually almost not really started. We're just preparing it. So what we want to do, hold on, Matthias is writing something. Smell of the empty cup is very intense. Oh, that's interesting. It smells good, the cup, now at least. Yeah, the aroma are still present in the cup, and I like it. So what I want you to focus on this for this workshop, two things, and I've written them in our leaflet here. I will tell you more about this leaflet later. So I want you to sharpen your senses. What does it mean? It means that you, as I said before, you don't want to concentrate on the describing the tea, on the description. You want to concentrate on your five senses, your perception of the tea, and I would say even on a sixth sense, that is your feeling. So that's very important. We will speak little when we taste the tea, and everyone, please don't rush on the chat. Just take your time to understand how do you like the tea. The second aspect is that, as said before, we want to limit the number of variables, right? We want to have a control, a complete control on our tea, and for doing so, we have, as we said, we have a glass pitcher, we have similar gaiwan, we have similar quantity of leaves. We don't care about water temperature because the water temperature is good. We don't care about the quality of the water because we have selected good quality water. We will use a strainer so that we won't have these tiny particles that are in the strainer, that remain in the strainer fin ending up in the pitcher and then further steeping. Yeah, those tiny particles give a lot of taste because they are completely broken and so on. So we reduce everything to the minimum and we concentrate ourselves on the steeping time. And in the future, it's a bit loud here. Oh, there is a car. In the future, you can also focus on other aspects. Of course, the process will be the same, but it's just for this first time we want to make it simple. My water is hot, and so we will start soon now with the experiment. But now is the time actually for you. Each of you, please. Stop writing all the rest in the chat and let's now focus on what you have in your cup. Please tell us just the name of the tea, if you know the year, and let us know if it is a nannuoshan tea, because in that case it means I know the tea and I can better suggest you and understand your comment. I will start so that you see the way we would like to do that, and I will write that I have a Chingshin from 2012. It is from Nantou County of Taiwan, and it is from nannuoshan. Please do the same one after the other and we will get a complete overview of what you're drinking. Maybe some of you won't be able to write in the chat if you don't have a YouTube account. Unfortunately, we cannot influence that. Charlie has the same Chingshin, okay, so there we are aligned. And I will wait you a little bit that you write that, and then we will get started with the main part of the workshop actually. Well, I'm happy that some of you guys have the same Chingshin that I have. Anima Temple has Chingshin 2014, perfect, yeah. Anima Temple, this is from Atong. If yours is from Atong as well, then you have even the same producer. Pascal Zelong Aromatic Oolong 2008, so fresher Oolong. Alishan 2014 from us, so it means it is the same cultivar, I think, the Alishan 2014, and also the same producer. Oh, it's going fast here. Donding, traditional 2019 from Taiwan. Very good, from Lai Fufu. Elsa, hi Elsa, nice that you're there, has a Gardenia dance song, which means it is a Huangjixiang. Very fresh actually from last year, so it was just finished to be processed a few months ago from Phoenix Mountain, so probably udon. Wenshan Baozhong is, let me see, Hongshan Qingxin. Qingxin is probably the same tea that we are drinking, it's just written with a different type of transliteration. So for Yan should be actually very similar to what we are drinking. Jumping Shuxian, that's fine. Dimitri has a Tieguanyin of an unknown eater. Anton is raw but don't know much about it since looking at the spelling mistake on the wrap. Okay, you wrote it in Shenzhen. Okay, Giselle and Alishan from Atom. Nice. So we have the same producer here. Anastasia, Alishan 2020, charcoal roasted. So interesting having an Alishan that is charcoal roasted. That's not very common. 2020. That's what. It's a bit strange. How can you have a 2020? Maybe it was a winter harvest? That's a bit strange. 2020, you have already an Alishan from this year. I mean, it can be, of course. Can be. We have a Qingxin from also Nantou County. Okay, oh, it's very good that actually we are matching our teas fairly well. Yusheng, 2012, okay. So this middle-aged Sheng is very well suited for this kind of workshop. Donding, Alishan, Nice. I see some connection here. Els and Giselle know each other. That's good. Tamara, oh Tamara, nice that you're joining us. Schön, dass du da bist. Qingxi Tanbei 2009, very nice. Matthias is our Qingxin, nice. All right, so good. So it seems we pretty much all have oolong, and many of us has Taiwan oolong. Some of us have a middle-aged pu'er, which is also fine. So let's get started. Warm up your gaiwan. So just to repeat, we want to focus only on our feeling of the tea. We don't want to describe it. And we want to focus only on the steeping time. So when you drink the tea and you analyze your tea and you want to adjust the steeping time, you don't want to adjust the temperature. Even if the tendency would be to do so, we won't do it. Okay, now you have just one more opportunity to clean up your chaxi. You see here that I put some effort in selecting. I mentioned before how I select the cup in selecting my chaxi. If you don't know the expression, chaxi means something like table, tea set, tea table, tea setup. It's actually your tea setup on the table in Chinese. And what I want to tell you a little bit my approach to this chaxi, and if you want to tune something to make it more harmonious to your sense, simpler is better for this experiment. Increase the grace of it. You have now time and opportunities to do so. You could even switch pitcher, for example. That's not the problem. And this tea, we won't use it anymore, so you want to weight again the same quantity of leaves that we will be using for all the rest, the remaining portion of this workshop. So I have it here. I will weight again my 5 grams. And please do the same. So I wanted to tell you how I selected my chaxi. First of all, this gaiwan. Everything here is from Caroline because I'm at her place. And this gaiwan, I didn't use it before. I even didn't know she has this gaiwan. but she bought it last year. I just didn't remember that when we were together in Jingdezhen in a night market just outside. There were some in Jingdezhen. There are night markets where artists present their wear, and she bought it there. So it is a little bit unusual for me because I tend to like more porcelain gaiwan and simpler gaiwan, not this type of bulky gaiwan here. But I was a few days ago, I was really surprised by how much I like it, in particular, which is the sensation when I have it in my hand. The lid closes it very well, and when I pull it in my hand, it has a nice feeling. It's a little bit tall. I cannot really put my small finger underneath, but it has really a nice feeling on the hand. And then I had to choose something, a tray, something for underneath. We have many here at home, but I couldn't find anyone that really match the gaiwan. And so I decided to go for this cloth, which is hand painted. And I thought that it is also a good match for the cup, which is more or less the same purple. I said before it was disturbing a little bit the blue inside, but today actually not that much. As for the picture, I have a lot of picture here. Most of them are simple, but I prefer to take something that have a certain texture, like this one here, you see. And it has a spout that is dropless, so you don't spill water, which is very good for me today since I don't have a tray, I just have a cloth here. And then I choose just this elephant here. It's white. It brings a little bit of contrast, a little bit more dynamic into my Chaxi, and it's very comfortable to place it's also practical to place my lid on it. So that's pretty much the way I have selected my Chaxi. Now I put my 5 grams of leaves inside and I get started. So you want to already start thinking about how long will you steep your tea. If you have a timer and you want to use it, go ahead and use it. You can note down on your notebook the time that you are doing your steeping so that in the future you can try once again. And for me, I won't use a timer, but I will write by feeling how long the steeping had been. And maybe I can double check also in the video and I can measure it. People are asking if they can use the rest of the tea from the first round. Of course you can do that. Yeah, for a cold brew, of course. Yeah, you can imagine I have a lot of tea here, and actually if I steep my tea for 7, you won't take a lot of taste out of it, okay? Cold brewing you can try, but usually in cold brewing you take more the floral aspect of the tea, and most of them will be gone with this brewing. But nothing is against keeping it aside and just continue drinking later on. Yeah, if it doesn't taste, it doesn't taste. If it tastes, it's good that you kept it. Okay, so let me see. We will finish on time, so no worries. Yeah, we have about, I told you, 1.5 hours, and we will make it in 1.5 hours. It means we have another half an hour for the core part of this. We will steep only this tea, so now no worries for that. So I will get started. I warm the water. I will tell you later on why I selected a certain time for a certain tea steeping, and you just make your choice for yours and you stick to that. Mirror stage. Oh, just now I realized your lid stand. Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? It was not meant for these, but it's something that you see in China sometime. I could even use these instead. Yeah, that's. There are really teaware in China that are really meant only to be lid holders. Okay, now I'm getting started. Too strong, this tea. Ugh. And I said, I might not speak much, but probably you're happy about that because I'm still speaking a lot here. I will do a wash. Look at the color. A little bit different than the previous one. So actually in my guide one now, yes, confirm 100 degrees centigrade. The whole video, 100 degrees centigrade. And I just read sometime what Matthias is writing me in the other chat, and he's basically copy pasting some of your question if many of you ask the same question, so that I can answer that. Will be a little bit of lag always, because there is about 10-second lag between when I'm speaking and when you hear my voice. So my guess is that I steep that for about 40 seconds. I said I don't have a timer, I just go by feeling. The color is very different than the previous one. I put a little bit in my cup and I will wait a second before I drink because I want it to cool down. This tea, I think, is changing quite a bit since last time I drank it. I remember more aroma in the smell is getting deeper and deeper. Okay, so now at this point you should have done your brewing. You just now taste it, focus on your feelings, try to understand if you like it, if you don't like it, which sensation you like better, which other you don't like. I tend to close my eyes when I want to concentrate on the steeping. I don't know if this is something that you also do. It tells me a lot in concentrate only on my taste. It's like, you know, I'm shutting down one of the sense, the view, and I concentrate only on the taste and my feeling. Okay, so everyone, of course, have to think for himself and herself. I can share with you how I experience my tea and how I will change and adapt the steeping for the next one. Because this workshop is all about predicting the behavior of the tea and understanding how the tea will evolve in the next steeping and how I want to adjust it. So it's two different aspects. One is, even if I like perfectly this cup of tea, I have still to adjust it for the next steeping. And if I don't like it, I have to adjust for the next steeping because the tea is changing, but also I have to adapt the fact that I didn't like it that much in the first steeping. Anastasia agree, very good. So about this tea, the first thing I noticed when I put it in my mouth, the first thing I thought is flour. The flour that you do for doing fresh pasta. So flour is the right pronunciation. I hope so. And Matthias, you're writing many say MS. What do you mean? So the aroma is not there where I was expecting it to be. Also because maybe the tea has aged a bit, so I have to adapt for it. I don't have to search for something that is not in the leaves. But it is, for me, is a little bit weaker. And this flower sensation in my mouth is not negative, but is not expected in an oolong. I would rather expect it in a white tea, for example. So it is not bitter. I don't have the dry sensation on the palate. No, I don't have it. Even if I think about it, maybe a tiny bit, but actually it's not there, so that's fine. What I will do with the next steeping, I want to get a little bit more taste out of it. But I have to pay one attention. The leaves are now opening, which means that if I do the steeping for the same time, I will still get much more taste. So I will do something in between, a little bit less than the previous one. And write your thoughts if you think that help you in remembering what you what you thought. I will do the same and write flower. I write that aroma is a bit down. That is not tannic, so which is good. And now I try to bring out a little bit more aroma out of it. But I have to take care because I don't want that drying sensation to come out again. So what we are doing here, we are using the first steeping that we have done to know what we don't want to taste in the tea. Okay, so you know already the tea, you know how a wrong steeping ends up, and now with that in mind and with this taste, you want to see where I want to bring this tea without going where it was with the long steeping. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm warming up the water, 92 degrees, I want 100, and then I will do another steeping. And we will have time to comment. I see that some of you are already writing, sweet, honey melon, creamy. First steeping was more aromatic, not bitter. Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. It's not that there is something true and wrong. It's just, it seems, I mean, from what I read from Gabriele here, it seems that it's matching pretty much also a little bit my sensation. It is sweeter, because, but for me it's sweeter because it's no more bitter as before, but it's still missing some aroma. So I want to do something better than that. Oh, George is also there. Nice. Hi, George. So I will go for the second steeping now. Also the way I will tell you soon. I try to do a slow pouring of water. This kind of gooseneck kettle helps a lot in having a very small and slow flow so that I don't move the leaves too much. And concerning what I wanted to tell you before is that you have seen that actually I put the kettle on this side, and this is actually, I'm left-handed, this is my strong hand. Some people say that it's better to use the kettle on your weak hand. I'm sure that Nikos would do so. And I understand the reasoning behind that and the flow the flow constant that you have in there. As for me, I am so much better with my left hand at controlling the flow. So my guess is 30 seconds now, maybe 35. And that I really prefer, I feel more comfortable if I use my strong hand also for the kettle. Moreover, I think that in the way I put here the my tea set, actually I see also a good flow, even if I put the cup basically on this side and the pitcher here, because you see I start from this side, I go in the gaiwan, I go in the pitcher, I go in the cup, and if needed, I go in the waste container. So there is a nice movement and I don't have to go forth and back. The color is a little bit more intense, nothing compared to the first long steeping, but definitely much more orange, yellow taste. And you know, usually I do a big mess when I use a gaiwan, but this gaiwan is so good. You know, I barely have spilled any water. So it was definitely a good choice. And you have to choose your time, right? Like I shorten it just a little bit because the first one was a bit too weak. If the first steeping would have been perfect, I would have done the second much shorter because the leaves are already open. So in this case, I still pushed it a little bit because I wanted to take out a little bit more of the taste. But at the same time, I took some care. It's not moving the leaves too much, so that I can reduce a tiny bit maybe the bitterness. If you bring movement and you have also particles and broken leaves that start moving, you activate more also convection and in the cup, and the steeping process is also faster than it was in the first steeping, just because of the movement that I brought in the cup. Better? Oh yes, now it's better. So it has the intensity of the tea is coming out. Also, his true nature is before it was a little bit too watery. It's also very slightly astringent, but different than before. Before it was mainly on the palate, and now I feel it also a little bit more distributed and on the side, and is bringing greater complexity than disturbing the taste to me. So if you are already at the second steeping, let us know in the chat now. Now it is the time to let us know exactly what actually did you like in your steeping so far and what you didn't like, what you did right, what you did wrong. Like in my case, I would write the first was a little bit too light, yeah, was a bit too light, and I had to push it a little bit farther. I was missing aroma that I found in the second cup. Yeah, I will try to push it a little bit more. And in the first, it was more a neutral flower taste, and now I have a little bit more complexity with the addition of the aromatics of the leaves and with the addition also of a little bit of astringency. So forgotten brew, more complex and thicker, nice. So Alex say your first implosion was already quite powerful. That's good. So Alex, do you mean that you like it being powerful or it was too powerful? Can you, can everyone still hearing me? I see that someone is writing that my stream died. So Matthias, maybe you can give me a feedback if everything is still going fine. Because unfortunately, I cannot really tell. Anastasia is saying the second steep is rounder and more satisfying. First was too light and watery for my taste. Okay. So I don't know, did you guys followed the steeping time as I did, or you also adapted the first steeping to your taste? It seems to me you might have been followed me. I mean, it's not wrong, right? We want them to adjust the steeping. It's okay if the first steeping is not perfect. Now we know for the future what we want to go with with uh, with that. And for example, I will show you what I wrote here. I don't know if you can really read it, but and probably might be the other way around on the screen, I don't know. But I wrote 40 seconds and then I put 3 arrows up to say, actually, I have to do the first steeping longer. And then the second one was about 30 seconds and I put only 1 arrow up, which for me an indication. It would have been probably a little bit better, just a tiny bit longer. But I have to say also, I don't have really problem with bitterness, and I know that this kind of traditional Taiwan oolong do not really turn bitter, so I'm not afraid of steeping too long. So what are you guys writing? Fausto, what is, yes, first one a bit weak, but very clear. Okay. Try to match the second one to the live stream. Okay. But over 1 minute for me. That's good. A bit over steep, the second one. High notes are gone, but thicker. Okay, Henning did a very long steeping. Never mind, Andy. I mean, you can still take back some new tea, and you know, if you steep your first infusion when I do my third, that doesn't matter. You know, you can catch up. That's not a problem. Dimitri, oddly, I'm tasting more astringency, both in this than in the 5 minutes one. Oh, that's really strange, Dimitri. What's happening there? For Gabriele, second steeping was longer, now full body, more aromatic, more fruity and honey. First steep was 45 seconds. So you probably, I think, Gabriele, I don't remember now which tea you have, but you probably have adapted better than I. Seems your second steep you were much more satisfied than the first. Okay. It's Gandalf style guy one. When you don't spill water around. Ah, I see. Dry pour. I prefer much more than dry pouring. It's just that I'm not very good at that. Always possibility to improve. Yeah, I like now when it's a little bit more cooler, the tiny bit of the stringency is gone and it has more aroma. It's also very interesting. I always let tea that I steep at very high temperature, I let them always rest a tiny bit before I drink. Okay, Tamara, 1 minute, 1 minute 30. So yeah, you're bringing some strength, and now I will go for the third one. I want to see what comes next. And I'm thinking what I want to do with these. Now the leaves are completely open. I will try to do again the same duration as the second steep because I want a little bit more intensity, just a tiny bit, but I think this will come out with the fact that the leaves are already open, and I think they have enough strength to not weaken down already. Okay, seems that audio and video are working fine, which is good, you know. It's also in this time, especially in the weekend, with everyone at home, the network is pretty much loaded. Okay. I won't drink all the tea, and the reason is that the guy one is pretty large, just for me, and don't want to drink too much now because that would like saturate me, and I want still to have some free space, you know, for the next steepings. It's like when you go in a fine dining restaurant, you never get large dishes. You just want, you know, even with the last piece of cake, still have room in your belly. And the experiment that I'm doing now would be much easier for me if I would choose, for example, a danson, that are tea that I brew probably even more often, that are very aromatic and is not so difficult to take out the taste. But I took this tea because it's really challenging, right? It is 8 years old traditional Taiwan oolong that is already changing into a little bit into darker taste, and I still trying to complement that richness in body that comes out with aging with those aroma that are more characteristic of a fresh oolong, yeah, and that in this oolong in transition you kind of can catch on both sides, on the aging side and on the fresh side, and put them together. I like the color. It's probably stronger than the previous one. I hope guys is fine if I don't comment too much as before. Alex, that's funny. From time to time I bring some of the tea to my wife so I don't drink too much. That's cool. That's a good idea. I will do the same now. So guys, I'll be right back. Okay. Caroline is next door, and so I brought her. All right. So sorry, I have to take some notes, and I will tell you soon what I think about this team. Okay, this time I'm going to have shorter than you. Sure, go ahead. At least we know you're wearing pants. Yeah, and these are actually unusually large pants for me, but very comfortable for staying at home. And since I've been at home for 2 weeks now, Charlie, the color of, are you drinking the same Chaxi that I am drinking? If this is the case, and it's still exactly this one, it could be that the color is influenced by the type of water. We have noticed that with Benjamin, when we did some water experiment, that the color of the brew can change pretty much if you keep everything the same, depending on the water you're using. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, we did an experiment. You can find an article on our blog on the website with that, and you will see the different color of the water, although we have done all the steeping the same. I'm just changing the type of water actually. Another aspect could be that if you use a gaiwan of different size, because of the volume that the leaves take in the gaiwan, you might have a little bit of a different taste. But that shouldn't be such a big issue actually. So as for these thirst tips, for me, first of all, the tea is now becoming rounder. Yeah, I think Gabriele mentioned that before. The tea is becoming, the other Gabriele is becoming rounder in the second step for her. For me, it's here in the thirst tip. Round, smooth is the first thing that I think is not aromatic. The second step was more aromatic than this one. I really start thinking the tea has changed, yeah, more than I was thinking, and actually those very fresh aroma are no more there, and you get more this honey-like thickness, not the sweetness of honey, but the thickness of the honey, the texture, the viscosity of the honey in your mouth. My infusion is golden now, right clean, nice gold. And that aspect, the visual aspect, for me is also important. Like I like a tea even better if it is visually pleasant to my eyes. And now you know, I don't know exactly what to do with the next one because I don't think I can take more aroma out of it. So I think I will try to concentrate on the roundness, and I will challenge a little bit the tea. I don't care if I get a little bit of bitterness because I want to complement this lack of aroma that is more typical of a fresh oolong with a little bit of mineral crispness from a longer steeping. Let's see. So it will be a tiny bit longer. Um, my strainer is visually useless because the leaves are so whole. That's true, you know. Also here, I mean, the leaves of this tea are whole leaves because they were all harvested by hand, which is no more the case for all the tea in Taiwan. And since they are rolled, they don't really break when during transportation and when you move them at home from one place to the other. But still, if you look at my guy one, I hope you can see that, you still see a lot of, how to do that, you still see a lot of particles, because still there are some, and if those end up in your pitcher, will still influence the brewing, especially because you are taking quite some time from one brewing to the next. Coconut in the little guy one lid, that's interesting. So you see how much, because I see it from the comments, you see how much you can influence the taste of the tea just with the brewing. This is really something that in the rest of the culinary experience, from chocolate, we said, to cafe, to coffee, you don't really have. And that's the power that we have when we brew tea. And there is actually one aspect that I want to mention to you, is now all of you, most of you, are doing tea for yourself. I know that some of you are drinking with your partner at home, so you are also considering his or her feedbacks, but mainly this exercise is for ourselves. Now let's pretend that there is no COVID-19 and you invite people over for drinking tea, new guests. Now, how do you have to tune your steeping? What do I do? I wait a little. You want, you have two options basically. Either you don't care about your guest because you know the tea better, and you brew your tea as you would do when you are alone. Or what you can do is you can adapt to your guest. And this is what I suggest doing, right? If you have guests and you prepare for your guests, you want actually the tea to taste for them, not necessarily for you. And they might have a different taste than you. So this is something that, of course, when we run an online shop, well, not an online shop, a tea house like we had in Berlin, we have to take care, especially if you run a traditional Chinese tea house where the guests come in and try the tea before they buy it. You want to brew the tea according to their taste, not to yours. And this should be the same case when you have guests at home. And this is an additional level of complexity, because how can you know how the people will like the tea? You know just your taste, but you can make some guess. You might know which type of tea they usually like, and even if they don't have a tea experience, you might always ask something like, do you put sugar in your coffee? If they don't put sugar in their coffee, they are not afraid of bitterness, and you can push it a bit more. But you can do this exercise that we are doing today, not only for yourself, also for your guests. And you want to see is when you have guests, if you can catch and match their taste. Watching a bit of the time, so we are approaching the end of the workshop. This is the fourth steep. That I might have done even longer than a minute. It's good that now, I mean, I do longer steepings, the leaves are already open, but I don't get bitterness out of it. Still, this flower sensation is still there, but it's much rounder than it was on the first steeping. I like it now. I could even steep in for longer, and I think this tea will stay there for quite a little while. How about your for steeping? And let's say in general, are you satisfied so far with the selection of the times? Or if you have to mention one thing that you have done wrong, what would you say? Please write it in the chat. Like if it is for me, I would say so far my biggest mistake is that the first steeping was too short. So I would write the first steeping is too short. So My laptop is slow because it's probably a little bit stressed with all this streaming. So let me know which is the major mistake that you think you have done so far. If you have tipped it to perfection, even better. A question to you, but I will wait that you answer first these. Let me know what one thing that you did wrong, if any. Anima template, same thing here. First tipping was too short. Mirror stage saying that the Gaiwan lead usually keeps smelling more and more herbal over time, much more than the tea itself. And that's pretty much, to my experience, always the case. For Dimitri, the second steeping was too long. The first steeping was too long. I mean, I did it too short, someone else did it too long. That's interesting. Like second steeping was, you see. Jan liked the second infusion the most. Now it's losing aroma, but it's quite normal. A bit longer the first tip for Fausto, a bit shorter the second one. You see, it's hard, right? And it's not that you can really just write them in stone and then you take the tea after a few months, especially for those that are drinking a very fresh one like the Alishan 2020. This will change. So you have just to learn. You don't want to fix that in stone, I say. You want to learn the way you felt the tea to improve the way you will feel the tea in the future. So you were thinking something about the tea, and then you changed the steeping time to adapt, and maybe the result was not exactly what you were expecting. Then you can rethink the way you will interpret the taste of your tea. As for me, I think actually this, except the first steeping, I did quite well. I'm pretty much satisfied. Like the first steeping, okay, was too short. I have to increase the steeping time. But then the way that I adapted it, I'm pretty satisfied. So, since Matthias is writing, yes, I'm always eating up to 100 degrees. I'm steeping this tea always at 100 degrees. This guy one is has a high heat capacity, so it keeps the heat very long. You see, I can barely touch it actually. Well, also because I have water inside now, I notice. It's extremely hot. Okay, let me see what you've write. Anastasia first tip was too short. It's good that Forgotten Brew says that the suddenly coconut notes appear. That's Forgotten Brew. Can you remind me what you're actually drinking? Nice. So I wanted to tell you one more thing. Now you see that this workshop, everyone is doing a different team, more or less. You have done a great job actually at looking at the tea in advance and matching what is really useful for this workshop, but still we are drinking different teas. Now also another aspect of that is that we can do a workshop like this where we train brewing skills, but what about if we want to do a workshop where it is about some taste aspects? Yeah, I will do some examples soon. There is a little bit more complex because I could tell you, let's do a workshop about white tea. Everyone should take some white tea. And then what do I have to tell you about the white tea is very, very general because I cannot go into details because detail won't reflect what you're drinking. So for that, we should drink all the same type of tea. So Matthias and I had an idea, and the idea would be that we organize this kind of workshop a little bit in advance. We send over the tea to you, just the quantity of tea that you need for that specific activity, for that specific workshop. We send you also some information and the leaflet like in this fashion, more or less. And then we will be able to perform exactly the same type of workshop, and we can expand much more the topic and the area that we are dealing with. And one example that came up to my mind is, and Elsa, if you're still watching, this is something I mentioned to you yesterday, is about the texture, sorry, not the texture, the terroir of Yunnan. So Yunnan have a specific taste. Yunnan tea tastes like Yunnan. And it doesn't matter if it is a green tea, if it is a white tea, if it is a pu'er, they taste like Yunnan. And now, what would be very interesting for me is to send you over like a green tea from Yunnan and a typical green tea from the east coast of China. A white tea from Yunnan and a white tea from Fuding. A pu'er and something that goes in that direction is very hard from the East Coast. If I find that would be difficult. But we can do that certainly for black tea as well. We can take a black tea from Yunnan with Daejeon, large tea, large leaves variety, and then a black tea, a more a Gongfu style black tea from the East. And then we taste them and we try to understand what is common to the green, white, and black tea from Yunnan that makes them unique with respect to all the other teas. This is something that to do that together, I have to send you over some samples. So, of course, for that, we have to charge a little bit for sending over the tea and so on. And it's not, it's not that we really want to do money out of it. It's just, of course, if we ask Henning and Dimitri to custom pack tea for you and send it over and the shipping cost and so just to cover those expenses. But then for us, it would be an opportunity to do more. So let me know what you think about that. It would be something that you would be up to participate, or you prefer more this kind of workshop where you have your own tea, you don't have even to spend any money, and we can do that this way. Gisela likes the idea. Forgotten brew. I totally agree. Yunnan is Yunnan. That's true. Forgotten brew. Okay, jumping Shui Xian. Okay, now I see. Same here. Let me see. I know that you heard me a little bit delayed, so I want to wait a little bit to see what you think about this idea. Maybe some monthly tea club subscription, as some other sellers do, combined with the workshop. Word, yes, Word. We have already actually one subscription that is for the private collection, and unfortunately is already sold out because the availability of the private collection teas is very limited. But Gabriele wrote me a feedback just yesterday. She drank our ginger flower tea, nannuoshan, and liked the tea a lot. So we have this kind of subscription as well. We did also something in the past, didn't work out too well, I have to say, and so we just stopped that. And the problem is that if I do a subscription, I have really to think very much in advance which workshop I want to do, and sometimes I came up just with ideas like the one about the Yunnan terroir that I just came up 2 days ago, and I want to have more shorter reaction time. Tamara likes the idea, Pascal as well. Okay, I mean, guys, it seems that you would be up for that. I cannot tell you exactly how much would it cost. I think my guess would be probably about 20 euros. Probably we can make it also with shipment included if it is within Europe. No, look at my team. This team, since I was speaking, I steep it for a little bit longer. I wanted to steep it longer, probably not that long, and now it's getting really an amber, dark amber color. It's still very round, very pleasant. That would be the perfect tea for me while working because it is forgiving. I now know that I can really push it and without fear, and it still gives me this pleasant cup that is not disturbing and it's just complementing my activity. So probably will be a tea that I will drink in the next days during my working session during the day. Dimitri suggests we should also combine it with the tea of the mount. Oh, Dimitri, that's also a good call. We have, I mean, I don't know if every one of you knows, but in our newsletter, we at the beginning of the month usually announce the tea of the month, and we give 30% discount of our newsletter subscribers and a 50% discount on those of you that subscribe also our YouTube channel. So, for example, this month is Gyokuro. And we could use also those tea for doing a workshop. Would be a workshop dedicated to a tea, to a specific tea, but it's certainly something worth doing. And I have another idea. We could take that particular tea and then one tea of your cupboard from maybe a different vendor or whatever, or even from nannuoshan. Nice, nice, nice. So let me see if I told you everything. Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. So I think I hope you have enjoyed actually this type of approach to the taste. It's a bit different, right? It requires some concentration. We don't look too much to describe the tea. We look to feel the tea. Try to exercise again. My suggestion: try with dancong. Try with a tea that you know very well, like your favorite tea at home, and try with the tea that you have never tried before. Like buy a new tea and try this experiment the first time you drink it to see if you can really adapt while um, while tasting it for the first time. So without having any preconcept in your mind. Yunnan white tea versus Fujian white tea. Yeah, that's something we can do as a topic, and it's also is really an easy topic because there are so large differences between the two. And I would complement that Yunnan white tea, Fujian white tea. I would even add probably Junshan Injan, which is a yellow tea which has a lot of notes similar to aged white tea and is also done with cultivars that are very similar to the cultivar used for white tea. So it would be also an interesting thing, like having two, three different Injan silver needle from Fuding, white tea, silver needle from Hunan, Junshan Injan, and silver needle from Yunnan, another white tea. Okay, guys, so I would say for me, this is the end of this workshop. If we will leave now for another round of question and answer, if you have any other ideas you want to suggest or any question you want to give us. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching offline, go ahead and subscribe our channel and you won't miss the next live streaming. And every one of you, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It's very important for our channel. YouTube rank us amongst, depending on how many likes we get. And to continue streaming, to continue doing all this effort, it's very important that we get rewarded with your likes and more subscribers. I'm reading here what you have right. Danson 1 p.m. was the wrong choice, maybe too weak. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't read what was written before, but Danson 1 p.m. is a 1 p.m. So it's more a beginner tea to get introduced into the world of dancehall without spending too much money. Actually, I have to say that our dancehall 1 p.m. is a very exclusive 1 p.m. because it's made with the 1 p.m. so the yellow pieces from our Huanjixian mainly, which is a very exclusive Huanjixian. So in a way, it's with respect to other 1 p.m. it's still very flavorful. And actually I selected this tea together with the guys from Tevolution tea shop in Hungary, because we were traveling together there and they were totally happy about this tea, because in Hungary people don't spend so much money for tea and dancehall can be really expensive. So when they found this 1 p.m. that is so affordable, they just jump on it and bought everything they could. And my greetings to Balas and Nora if you ever will watch this video. So I liked, if you're still there, give me some feedbacks also. How did you like this type of workshop? It is a little bit quieter than the live streaming that we usually do when it's not a specific topic. You might have noticed that I also changed a little bit the timbre of my voice and also the way I speak with respect to the beginning of the video, because in the second part and even now I'm more in the mood of appreciating the tea rather than keeping a high tone of voice just to involve you and so on. So that part is was at the beginning, now is a bit over. And I'm very happy, guys, that all of you joined. We have some new ideas for new topic, and in the comments of this video, if you come up with another topic that you want to do together, let's do that. I have one other thing that I forgot telling you before. I know that some of you actually live very close to each other. So if you want to find new tea friends, you need tea fellow, tea buddy that are just next door and you want to drink tea with them, I know that it's not easy, especially when you live in a small place, to find other people that drink tea at the level we do. So you can simply write now in the chat where you are from, and you might find out that someone is just in the same region and you don't know him. So Elsa, I'm very glad that also your mom participated. Thank you very much to you. Christian just discovered it, nice. Cool. I'm happy with this workshop. You know, it was the first time, so you never know how it goes. And it would be, I have another, just, I came up with so many ideas, but this is something actually that I had a couple of days ago, and we also discussed that with Matthias. When we do the workshop where we send you samples at home in advance, of course we will do that workshop only for those of you that have received the sample, because it doesn't make sense we do a live streaming for everyone, right? So in that case, you will receive a link to participate to the workshop, and will be a closed society if you want. For that, we will have also the opportunity for those of you that want it to share your screen, to share your camera, sorry, not your screen, your camera and your audio, and participate to the video. We are looking at possibility to do that. It's possible, so we can have basically a workshop where everyone sees everybody on the screen. Of course, only those of you that really want to share their image, otherwise you can still participate as you did today, but otherwise you will have a small face on your screen and you can interact live with everybody. There is just one little thing that we have to tune there, but I think we can find that out, and this is that the delay that we have when streaming on YouTube. But no, there shouldn't be a problem. I think we can work that around. So in the case you find the idea cool of interacting with us with your voice and with your image, let us know, and we will also look at that type of technology. Now let's go to the toilet. Jesus. I wanted to, I mean, now basically the workshop is over, right? I just keep on the streaming because I see that some of you are still writing, but feel free to go to the toilet, to close. Everything is over now, and we can just have a little bit of discussion before we close everything. And what I'm doing, I'm opening YouTube now, and I want to see the streaming myself. I don't know if that works out actually. Oh yeah. It's loading, that is a bit slow. Christian, I will present your workshop to a friend of tea in Brussels. Yeah, great. Brussels actually is a good city for tea. We have also quite a few customers from Belgium. Here you go. Ward from Belgium, for example, is also one of our customers. Cheers, Giselle. Thank you for joining. Annette, I didn't read of you before. On a different note, could you tell us something more about the new nannuoshan tea set, which was designed especially for you? It's so beautiful. Thanks Giselle for sharing that. You know what I want to try now? I want to try to show that tea set to you. I don't know if that works, guys. So I'm really now trying something new just because the workshop is over, and I kind of feel I can try that. So what I will try to do, I say I don't know if that works. I will try to share my screen and see if you can see that, and you will tell me. I'm trying to share in my screen now, and you tell me if you can see. Let's see. I'm adjusting it a little bit. So, what Annette is talking about, she's talking about this guy one here. First of all, can you see the screen now? Let me see what you're writing. Well, thank you. Nice to hear. So, let me know if you can see my screen here. No, here on this corner. We can see it. Okay, thank you. So, I switch back. Basically, these three items here. Last year, I was with Caroline in Jindagen, and we did some sourcing for ourselves and for nannuoshan. And we encounter in just a few days a lot of interesting artists. And this is just the first series that we're showing you. But we have much more than that in our warehouse. And in the next months, we will bring things out. They are all basically made by from artists by hand for ourselves. So although we were last year in Jindagen, since we are to order and it took some time for them to prepare that for us and then send them over Shanghai to Berlin, long story short, now is the time to start putting them out. Concerning this specific aspect, you will see that if you go on one of the three products here and you just click on that, let's see. Matthias is writing me a comment. You should move the camera or sit on one side of the frame. Yeah, but can you see that? Like I'm now, well, you know, you see here I have the window. You see basically everything here, and you have this video that you can check out on one of these page, for example, this guy one here, artisanal guy one, where you can see the artist preparing and actually forming and shaping those videos, those keyword for us, yeah. And what we liked of that is that he works very free. Like you see that the shapes are very you will see how he works. Basically, he doesn't use a lot of tools to make the shape, and he does everything by hand. So every different items has pretty much a different shape actually. And I think this is what Annette was referring to. They have inside is always white, which is good for the color of the tea. Anyway, yeah, it's nice that we tried also these display capture here. Now checking in the chat again. The elephant is so cute, Chiara. Yeah. And I say this is not meant for tea, but I thought it's nice to as a lead holder. Guys drink tea, so this is Siggy, right? Then I overslept somehow. I hope the workshop went well. I will watch the recording later. Yeah, it went well. I mean, at least for me, I had a lot of fun, and I hope the same for you. Oh, yeah. All right, so I think I will now interrupt the streaming. Hopefully next time we will manage to have also Matthias on visually on the screen. But Matthias, thank you very much for helping me with the chat. It was so useful that I can read basically a summary of your question on the side and then just address those. It worked out really, really well. So guys, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next Tuesday on the next video. Bye bye.